Our story begins in Brazil, in Minas Gerais, one of the regions most affected by deforestation. But here, the engine noises are not those of chainsaws.
Voilà, on est en train en ce moment de perforer le sol pour pouvoir commencer à planter nos premiers arbres.
A former farm of 700 hectares, this area now goes by the name Instituto Terra. For a little over 20 years, hundreds of thousands of trees have been planted here every year, with the aim of turning this region into a temperate zone. Juliano Salgado and his family founded the project.
Le ciel est gris, ça veut dire qu'il va bientôt pleuvoir. Et voilà, et donc là c'est la course avant qu'il pleuve. Au moment où il pleut, il faut qu'on soit capable de planter, là tout de suite, 15 000 arbres.
The country is suffering the full force of global warming. Every drop of water is precious.
Cette année, on plante 210 000 arbres. L'année prochaine, on a déjà prévu de planter à peu près 600 000 arbres. Et qui sait, l'année suivante, si on ne plantera pas 1 million ou 2 millions d'arbres d'un seul coup.
This exceptional scale of reforestation was concepted by Juliano's parents, his mother, Lelia, and his father, Sebastião Salgado, one of the greatest photographers worldwide.
C'est un endroit qui est important pour nous ici. C'est la photo qu'on a faite au moment où il n'y avait rien ici. Donc Sébastien, mon père, fait une photo qui est devenue un peu le symbole de cet endroit. Et il revient 15 ans plus tard, et la forêt a déjà poussé. Cette photo est vraiment emblématique. Donc on aime bien venir ici parce que ça nous rappelle en fait tout le travail qu'on a fait et à quel point c'est une réussite, quoi. À quel point on a réussi à faire revenir la vie ici.
An initiative that is part of a widespread global nature offensive, rewilding, restoring the wild world that humans have destroyed. The earth is burning. Temperatures are rising at an unprecedented rate. The climate is changing. Biodiversity is collapsing. Only 4% of the mammals on the planet are wild. There are fewer and fewer trees in the forests, fewer and fewer fish in the sea, less and less life in the soil. Only one culprit, mankind. Humans who pollute, corrupt and destroy. But our fate is not sealed.
The good news is that nature can heal itself if we humans stop causing trouble. We must all take action now.
Humans are responsible for the destruction of this planet, but we are also the solution to reversing its fate. We go to meet these men and women who are rewilding the planet. In Argentina, they plan to reintroduce a predator that is vital to the ecosystem.
Debemos comenzar a aliarnos con la naturaleza.
In Mozambique, an extraordinary scientific adventure closely blends the rebirth of wildlife with the lives of local populations.
Human development, conservation, development. They need to go together.
From South America to Russia to the Netherlands, we followed this huge ecological wave.
There's not just one solution that will take care of everything. We need 100 solutions.
All over the planet, these exceptional men and women are fighting to repair our planet and save our lives. In Brazil, thousands of square kilometres of trees are felled or burned every year. The condition of the Amazonian forest is worsening. Never in 15 years has it been in such a devastating state. Close to the point of no return, the planet's lung risks becoming a desert equivalent to the Sahara. A disaster for the whole of humanity. The photographer Sebastião Salgado decided to act. His story begins in the late 90s when he inherits the family farm. For decades, his father cut down trees to exploit his land and raise cattle. The land was dry and bare.
Personne n'avait conscience qu'on était en train de tuer une des plus sophistiquées forêts du monde. Vous savez, je venais d'avoir une très, très dure expérience comme photographe avec les génocides au Rwanda. En réalité, je ne voulais plus faire de photos. Et quand on arrive là-bas, on voit une terre aussi malade que moi, j'étais malade. Aussi épuisé que moi, j'étais épuisé avec tout ce que j'ai vu en Afrique. Et là, à ce moment, on prend conscience qu'il fallait qu'on réhabilite écologiquement cette morceau de terre.
Sebastião and his wife Lelia spend all their savings on the project, a huge job. Giuliano also participates in the work. In a few years, the pastures are transformed, the land is resurrected, 2.5 million trees are planted, and it's not over yet.
Et en plantant la forêt, là, on a commencé à se rendre compte qu'il y avait un miracle qui se passait.
But building a forest was much more difficult than expected. 90% of shrubs died in the first year. Some were unable to survive in dry soil. Others were not adapted to global warming. They then created this nursery to be able to select the right varieties of trees, to learn when and how to make them grow. It can take up to 2 years to go from a seed to a shoot that's ready to be planted.
On les fait germer à l'intérieur de ces tubes en plastique. Elles vont passer d'un lieu à l'autre à l'intérieur de cette pépinière où elles vont être plus ou moins protégées du soleil, avec plus ou moins d'humidité, pour favoriser leur croissance. Et l'idée, c'est qu'au bout de cette croissance, quand elles sont assez grandes, on les emmène à l'extérieur pour qu'elles puissent se développer complètement dans des conditions qui vont être très très proches de celles qu'elles vont rencontrer dans la nature. Voilà.
The larger shrubs are ready. To plant them, all that's missing is one essential ingredient: water. The rainy season only lasts 3 months. After 9 months of drought, there is not much time.
On est en train de voir à quelle profondeur l'eau a déjà pénétré dans la terre.
40 centímetros já.
Bien. Alors, donc on va pouvoir planter beaucoup d'arbres aujourd'hui.
The planting team is split in two. The first team's mission is to plant as fast as possible. Today, 5,000 bushes must be planted. For the second group, their work is more meticulous.
Então a gente vai pegar uma madeirinha. Aqui, ó. A formação de raiz. Esse é um ipê amarelo, uma espécie símbolo do Brasil. Floresce sempre na véspera da primavera. A gente vai plantar ela aqui agora. Um pouquinho mais de terra. Essa parte.
Leaves and branches serve as natural fertilizer.
Donc là, on peut voir que la terre est riche. On voit même des insectes. Les arbres qu'on a plantés il y a 10-15 ans ont permis que toute cette vie qui est là vienne enrichir cette terre. Donc, cette terre est littéralement en vie à nouveau. Donc, c'est une validation pour nous que notre méthode fonctionne. On va aller voir d'autre côté. Je vais vous montrer comment c'était avant.
The neighbouring farmers have not changed the way they treat the land.
Regardez, voilà, à l'horizon là-bas, on voit un champ qui brûle. Regardez la taille de ces flammes. C'est impressionnant. Voilà. Alors ici, il n'y a aucune vie organique ici. Cette terre morte, on va la mettre en parallèle avec la terre d'ici, de l'Institut. C'est visible à l'œil nu en fait, la transformation profonde qu'une forêt peut avoir sur une terre qui semble morte. Voir ça, c'est vraiment une image d'espoir.
Today, Instituto Terra is funded by donations from companies and foundations. This money helps fund the planting of hundreds of thousands of trees in the region. Dozens of species of birds and mammals have returned. Where the forest has grown back, the temperature is dropping and rain is more frequent. A green revolution. Which is also taking place a few hundred kilometres away, in Argentina. We go to investigate the result of decades of rewilding. To the world's largest wildlife reintroduction laboratory. 200,000 hectares of wetland where 50 biologists work full-time. They care for, feed and prepare hundreds of animals for freedom. This haven exists thanks to a couple of American billionaires who invested their entire fortune 25 years ago. The region had been ravaged by intensive farming and hunting. And the wildlife had almost completely disappeared. Magali Longo is in charge of a vital mission for the park, the reintroduction of the jaguar.
Vamos, dale. La verdad que es increíble tener esta perspectiva porque uno estando desde el territorio no se imagina lo inmenso que es.
Magali has been working for 3 years to free Arami, a young female jaguar.
Acá lo que estamos viendo, el grande que vemos a nuestra derecha, es el corral donde está en este momento Arami. Allí pasó gran parte de su tiempo desde que nació en el centro y dentro de muy poco salga a la libertad. Dale.
The jaguar is the largest cat in America. It can measure up to 2 meters 70 and weigh up to 160 kilos. Its jaw is so powerful that it can devour a crocodile. It's been 70 years since the jaguar completely disappeared from Argentina due to hunting. It's one of the most difficult animals to release back into the wild.
Estamos en el centro de reintroducción de jaguarete. Es decir, nosotros representamos en ese corral la vida que se encontrarían en libertad los cachorros el día de mañana.
It's been a long-term endeavour. The park first acquired adults from zoos in the region. Bred in captivity, they were unable to survive in the wild. So these are their young that will repopulate Iberia. This is Arami, born in 2018. She has never seen humans. She mustn't get used to their presence. But since she was born, she has been scrutinised by surveillance cameras. One of the biggest hurdles is to teach young jaguars how to hunt. The key to their survival.
Ah, sí. Bueno, entonces, ¿más grande pensaste? Lo dejamos acá, si total le queda para el yacaré.
It may seem cruel, but the park biologists must sacrifice some animals to protect others.
¿Cuál entonces el más grande?
Cualquiera, el que puedas agarrar, es lo mismo. ¿Crees que traemos el copo? ¿Cómo? Sí, perfecto. Parate, ¿en qué te ayudamos? Bien ahí.
The jaguar must not see the humans.
Antes de abrir, chequeo. Vamos. Vamos. El objetivo de esto es que las crías nacidas de parentales que son de cautiverio sean pura y exclusivamente salvajes, que tengan un comportamiento ideal para ser liberadas.
The jaguar catches the pig. Arami is 3 years old and a good hunter. She is ready to survive on her own in the wild and to fully assume her role as architect of the ecosystem by kickstarting a chain reaction of biodiversity. A jaguar is what we call a super predator. This carnivore regulates herbivore populations by both hunting and instilling fear. When the super predator is present, its prey are stressed and their behaviour changes. They have fewer young and they avoid exposing themselves to attack, so they vacate open spaces. In these environments, vegetation will be allowed to thrive, seeds will germinate, and trees will grow. This new environment attracts insects that feed the birds. After a while, the ecosystem becomes richer, more diverse. Scientists call this snowball effect trophic cascade. Key species, like the jaguar, are reintroduced as a priority. However, carnivores are not the only priorities. There's also the anteater. All of them that are taken in here are orphans.
Los animales están en cuarentena. Si yo vengo con algo sucio o algo en las manos que los pueda transmitir, se podrían contagiar. Vamos.
With anteaters, contact with humans is not a problem. They regain their wild instincts as soon as they reach sexual maturity. They will soon forget their surrogate mother, the biologist Alicia Delgado.
Él se llama Potay. Te voy a dejar, Potay, Ahora. No.
Anteaters have a fundamental role in the rewilding process. They regulate the populations of ants and termites.
Continuamos. Y en el caso de la más pequeñita que está ahí, la mamá fue atropellada y murió en un accidente y ella quedó aferrada a la mamá y es ahí cuando la encontraron.
The youngest is called Blanca. She is 2.5 months old.
A todos los pequeñitos como ella es muy importante ponerle algo, en este caso es un oso de peluche, a lo cual se puedan aferrar. Te lo puedo mostrar. ¿Qué te pasa, gorda?
It takes 1 to 2 years of care to release an anteater.
¿No les gusta que les toquen la cabeza acá arriba? Ahí, no les gusta. Se agarra fuerte.
In 15 years, Alicia and her colleagues have released 135 anteaters, all fitted with GPS collars. Many other key species have repopulated Iberia since the programme began, like macaws, tropical parrots, which eat fruit and spit out the seeds, reintroducing many tree species. Peccaries, wild pigs, scatter seeds by digging into the ground. And Pampas deer maintain the prairies. Ecological upheaval with the jaguar taking centre stage. After 3 years in captivity, Arami will be free tomorrow morning.
Me genera mucha felicidad y adrenalina a la vez, por todo el trabajo previo que venimos realizando para llegar al momento en que el jaguarete empiece a pisar el suelo en libertad.
But all those who fight for nature know that it's necessary to protect both animals and humans to guarantee the success of rewilding. In the Gorongosa Park in Mozambique, emptied of all wildlife by years of war, many species have been reintroduced in the last 18 years. But this doesn't happen without risks for the local populations. It's dawn. 2 scientists from the elephant team leave for an operation.
I'm feeling pretty positive. That's exciting, though I don't try to make them angry, but yeah, they're just not always predictable. Sometimes they're calm, sometimes not so much.
Their goal? To carry out a health check on the large pachyderms.
Yeah, you hear something?
But to do that, you have to find them first, with the GPS collars that some of them are wearing.
I mean, we're close. We are 400, well, almost 500 meters. We're not getting a beep, though, no? Oh, they're there.
Jason Denlinger is a former American biology professor, and at 44 years old, he's living his dream life in Gorongosa.
Yeah, I've always liked elephants, but I grew up as just some kid in Iowa, which does not have elephants. So once I started working with elephants and got chased by elephants and had some experiences with elephants, I thought, okay, now I feel like I've earned the right to get the tattoo of.
But today, his friends don't want to show up.
Okay, back off road. They're playing with me.
Twice a week, Jason and his assistant Margarita try to observe as many elephants as possible. To fill the database of a brand new monitoring program for these large mammals. A difficult task, as the park covers 4,000 square kilometres, 40 times the size of Paris.
There we go. Elephants there. Is that long or what?
Shh. That's not even the one, I don't think. Then I can just take some notes. Male or female?
Yeah, it's a male.
The male.
Yeah.
There's like a lot more than you can see. Ideally, you would see the same elephant once a month, so we can see it, how it progresses throughout the year. It's not easy as you see. Now we find the road. Well, I'm not gonna go too close because they're gonna get mad now. Now they don't like us. Now she's like, get away from us, guys.
When suddenly, weighing 6 tons, elephants are the biggest land animal. They become very dangerous when they charge, running up to 40 kilometers per hour.
All good.
Okay.
Let's keep.
They're there, they're chill. Okay, now we're gonna leave them alone, definitely. I gotta pee.
This is one of Jason and Margarita's main goals, to prevent these reintroduced elephants from endangering the local population. And in Gorongosa, there are no fences that limit the reserve, meaning the animals can move around freely. So the scientists came up with a ploy. 20 beehives have been installed along the elephant's usual passage.
O elefante vem, atravessa, depois repara, vem tudo brilhando. Depois tenta contornar, chega, encontra uma vedação. Tenta puxar, não consegue, volta. Vai tentar na colmeia. Pega, puxa a tampa, as abelhas picam o elefante e daí o elefante sai a correr e volta de novo para o parque.
Elephants may be massive, but their skin is very thin, and the stings hurt. As this night trap camera reveals, the effect is immediate and lasting. Balance between humans and wild animals. All this was born from the imagination of one man who likes to come here in the evening to greet the hippos. American millionaire Greg Carr made his fortune in the computer industry, then sold his company and invested in the reserve.
I came here for the first time in 2004. I could drive all day long and maybe see one baboon in a day or one warthog in a day. I didn't even see very many birds. Birds? How could you lose all the birds, right?
Possible due to the ventures of man. "45 years ago, a civil war broke out in Mozambique. 1 million people died and 5 million were displaced. The Gorongosa National Reserve was devastated. Hunted for their meat, 95% of large mammals disappeared.
There's not just one solution that will take care of everything. We need 100 solutions, but that's one. I think that there's a perfect point between optimism and pessimism that we all need to find, right? If we're completely pessimistic, we won't do anything. We say, well, it's over. Climate change will ruin the world. It doesn't matter what I do. We don't want that. If you're completely optimistic, you're ignoring the problem and you're not going to do anything. So there's a point in the middle where you say, yes, it is a serious problem. We must all take action now, but we can. The hippos agree with me.
This is the most beautiful reward for Greg and all the activists, scientists and patrons who work to protect nature, to see it blossom. Our Earth can be saved if this work continues. We head back to Argentina, to the Iberia Reserve. Today, the biologists of the park will make their contribution. Arami, the female jaguar, will be released.
En el monte, así que...
Magali Longo has a front row seat.
Ya. Sí, se pueden desconectar eso.
This type of reintroduction is called a soft release.
Qué lindo.
They open the pen and let the animal decide when it wants to leave to avoid stress.
Pero bueno, es esperar a ver cuándo sale, ver a través de las cámaras.
This is the beginning of a long wait. Magali will spend hours in front of the control screens, day and night.
Tenemos que poner la cámara correspondiente. Vamos a empezar a observar. Un chancho.
24 hours later, while the whole team is gathered.
Ahí va. Pero decida. Sí. Espera. Ahí se fue. Y bajó y nunca más volvió. Bueno, así. Espectacular.
¡Vamos! La lobizona. Es un sentimiento de felicidad plena, no solo por lo que implica la liberación en sí, sino por lo que fue llegar hasta donde estamos. Y nada, vamos por más. Esto recién empieza. Es un camino que recién está formando antecedentes, así que vamos por más jaguaretés por liberar y por mucho trabajo más por hacer. Increíble, sí.
Arami is the 7th jaguar released in Iberia. Her mission is to save the biodiversity of the park.
¿Hay una más para llevar? Voy a agarrar para llevar.
The next day, Magali goes to verify that the carnivores are settling into their role as big predators. By following their tracks, thanks to the GPS collars attached to the felines. There is no road or path to the reserve. The only way to get close to their territory is to travel several hours via horseback.
Víctor, acá está comiendo el cachorrito. Un carpinchito muerto acá. Ahí se ve que la pata no es muy grande, por eso es de un carpincho de tamaño mediano. Es raro.
Less herbivores means more vegetation.
Es ver que los paisajes vuelven a ser lo que eran antes. Es poder observar no solo la belleza del jaguareté, sino también la funcionalidad que comenzó a cumplir desde que está presente en Iberia.
Magali has just spotted one of the female jaguars.
Sí, bastante cerca.
Here she is, in the distance, with her 2 cubs. The family was released 6 months ago. All are in good health and have adapted perfectly to their new life. The park's objective, to reach a stable population of 20 jaguars in 5 years, achieved also through the natural reproduction. Each female can give birth to litters of 1 to 4 jaguar cubs.
El jaguareté para mí representa no solo un símbolo de belleza, sino también de poder. Internamente, el recorrer la isla y comenzar a ver las primeras huellas del jaguareté, luego de haber estado tantos años ausente en la provincia de Corrientes, creo que es una locura. En líneas generales es increíble.
Years and years of effort, a small step in erasing the destruction man has caused. Only a mere 3% of the entire planet has not been exploited by man. When left to its own devices, nature takes over, even in the most hostile of places. The most famous example is Chernobyl, 5,000 square kilometres unfit for human life. 35 years after the nuclear disaster, vegetation has invaded. Wild animals have returned, as if radioactivity posed less of a danger to them than to man. In China, the former fishing village of Hutuwan was abandoned by its last inhabitants in the 1990s. Moss and plants covered everything in just 20 years. Sometimes nature just needs a little bit of peace and quiet to be free again. In March of 2020, 4 billion people were confined due to the COVID-19 virus. Animals could finally emerge from their lair. At the Palace of Versailles, we even came across deer. And in Venice, where boats full of tourists have stopped sailing, the water is becoming clear again. Nature is extremely resilient as long as it's left in peace. But the aim of ecosystem restoration experiments is also to support local economies while protecting nature. We return to Mozambique, to the Gorongosa Reserve, a region where, to survive, the population of the surrounding villages poaches and fells the trees of the forest. To encourage the inhabitants to change their agricultural practices, one man had a brilliant idea.
After plantation, to baptize your tree. He said, "Good morning, Gorongosa. I, Pedro Magura, I wish this tree to grow well."
Pedro grew up here. He was one of the first to believe in the rebirth of Gorongosa.
My big idea, gentlemen, was having coffee. These are the first coffee species growing in it. Several people said, he's a crazy guy. He wants to do something which we never had. We can't reach the restoration of a national park if there is no immediate benefit to people who are poor.
Non-intensive cultivation that doesn't come at the expense of the environment. Pedro began this journey with only 11 volunteer farmers. Today, there are hundreds. The coffee beans are processed here before being roasted in a factory built by the park. The Gorongosa Reserve buys the coffee directly from the farmers to guarantee them a decent income. The park also builds schools and launches social programs. Everything is done to preserve symbiosis between the local population and the wilderness. About 15 permanent scientists work on the conservation of the reserve. They come from all over the world. But many are Mozambicans. One of the park's missions is to assist in the social ascension of the inhabitants. Today, a big expedition is scheduled to change the transmitter collar of one of the lions. And Tonikas, 28 years old, is the chief veterinarian of the Gorongosa.
Estamos a ir procurar dois machos. Temos que trocar colar a um macho. Não temos posição nova para o dia de hoje. Mercy vai ficar aqui quando ter posição, a nos ligar. Mas antes disso, nós vamos tentar sentar.
He works with his wife, Mercia, who is the first female veterinarian in the country.
Yeah, Mercia, podes dar as coordenadas, não consegui receber. Ok, obrigado. Yeah. To me, it's a big gift. To Rewild again after Civil War and to be part of this historic moment. Nice. There.
The lions were not reintroduced to the reserve. They came back on their own.
Mercia, coming from Tonecas.
Escuta.
Já encontramos os machos, estão mesmo na estrada. Aqui só vamos estar aguardando pela vossa chegada.
The lions are not in the least bit afraid of humans. Tonecas will anaesthetise one in front of an audience. But not just any audience. He has invited young girls from the very poor villages surrounding the park. An educational mission, both scientific and human.
Boas-vindas para o Leão. Então, só vão descer do carro quando eu ligar para descer do carro. Não tenham medo, não fiquem em pânico. Vamos juntos? Estão a entender? Não é para ficar em pânico, ficarem calmos, ligarem à vontade, tá bom? Vamos tirar fotos aqui, tá bom? A única coisa que não podem fazer é barulho, senão vai acordar. Yeah?
They move.
They are chilled now, but they will grow with conservation in mind. Like, we don't need to poach anything. Because if we poach it, we'll poach our future. Now, put in. Mercia, Dad, Samuel, the dart is in.
15 minutes later, the tranquilizer takes effect.
Não dormiu, tem reflexos. If I need to run, I need to come sit here, right? Okay. Mercia, pega a escolar, pega a fita métrica, vamos lá medir. Yeah?
Estamos quase.
Chama lá uma criança para vir te ajudar aí, Mercia. Chama lá uma criança, uma moça para vir te ajudar. Aqui uma luva. Olha lá a luva, Francisco.
One of the high school girls volunteers, Olga. At 15, she dreams to be like Mercia.
Nós queremos medir. Deixa só. Larga. Até aqui. Estás a ver aqui? É 90 aqui? 91.
Olha, mais 5 minutos, hein? Hello. Vem cá, foi.
Boa tarde a todos.
Plano para conservar o meio ambiente e retirar a barriga na escola. O nosso futuro é hoje.
Fizeram safari?
Back at the camp, the young guests are greeted by American millionaire Greg Carr, without whom none of this would have been possible.
Animais favoritos. E quê?
Leão.
Leão. Yeah.
Elefante.
Elefante!
Eu queria muito.
Não é cobra? So some people talk about human development, and some people talk about protecting nature, but we really see it as the same thing. The park is helping the people, but then the people return the favor because then they care about the park. It's their park. This is their biological and cultural heritage. This is their nation. The Gorongosa is the treasure of Mozambique. So these people know that Gorongosa Park is theirs.
And it's not only a moral obligation. Gorongosa Park is a national reserve. Since the beginning of their adventure, Greg Carr has been working hand in hand with the state of Mozambique. We now begin a long journey to the heart of Siberia in Russia. We stop in Yakutsk under a thick fog where the sun is finding it harder and harder to emerge. It's the summer of 2021. The city is smothered by the smoke of gigantic fires that ravage the whole region. Yakutia, one of the coldest areas in the world, is burning. Over 18 million hectares of forest are in flames due to scorching temperatures which have reached 48 degrees. "3,000 kilometres further east, on the edge of the Arctic Ocean. In this apocalyptic setting, we meet a family of scientists whose mission is to save humanity.
Это старый локатор, который отслеживает перемещение самолетов.
This is their son, Nikita Zimov. In the distance, flames continue to ravage the land.
Климат меняется. То есть происходит не только потепление климата, но происходят какие-то там экстремальные отскоки. В том числе есть экстремальные паводки. То есть топит, вот там Германию в этом году затопило ужасно. Та же Калифорния горит постоянно. Причем
Nikita's father, Sergei Zimov, will show us how humans have started their own destruction. He is a world-renowned geophysicist and specialist in Arctic ecology. His boat acts as a time machine. At his feet, animal bones, which the earth has begun to expel very recently.
О, это мамонт, челюсть, а вот это бизон.
Dating them back is easy. The mammoth became extinct 4,000 years ago.
Рог. Мамонты. Это тоже мамонты. Фух.
These bones were trapped in what is called permafrost, a zone of the subsoil permanently frozen since the Ice Ages, completely impermeable for 120,000 years. It covers a quarter of the northern hemisphere, from Russia to Canada.
Это каждый год земля трескалась, и по новому слойку воды затекала и замерзала. Этому льду 1020.
The problem is that this 1,000-year-old ice sheet is a gigantic reservoir of greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide and methane. 1,600 billion tonnes of CO2, which will be released into the atmosphere if the entire permafrost thaws. This could cause our disappearance. The extinction of the human species. A climate time bomb.
Вот сейчас здесь она тает со скоростью 20 сантиметров в день. Лето у нас жаркое, солнца много. И поэтому вот эти ручьи фурчат. Это вот прямо сейчас тает вода.
Another sign of the catastrophe that is devastating our planet.
То есть уже всю мерзлоту мы точно не успеваем, поздно. Ну, дай бог половину успеть, может быть, 70% удастся сохранить. Если начать вот через неделю.
Sergei and Nikita confirm that there is a solution. We are in Chersky, a few hundred kilometres from the Arctic Ocean, where the Zimov family has built a large park to welcome large herbivores. They are convinced that the return of horses and bison will help save the permafrost, thanks to their movement and feeding patterns. In winter, bison, reindeer and horses trample the ground and dig in the snow to find food. But snow is an insulator that traps heat in the ground. By digging into the snow, animals get rid of this warming cover. The ground cools down, which limits the melting of the permafrost. In summer, herbivores graze on the moss that covers the plain, eating the small shrubs and prickly plants. Instead, steppe grass grows. Each blade has roots that sink into the soil, fixing it and preventing thawing. By reintroducing wildlife in just a few years, the plain turns green, transforming into a vast pasture that protects the soil. The Zimovs managed to bring back dozens of herbivores. Goats, reindeer and Yakut horses that can all withstand the lowest temperatures. Even camels.
То есть это надо было вообще-то догадаться, что верблюд тут пойдет. А так как верблюд один из самых холодоустойчивых животных, то есть минус 50 для них совершенно легко.
The Zimovs have already measured the impact of the animal's presence on their land. As expected, where they are, the permafrost is no longer melting.
И среднегодовая температура мерзлоты на пастбищах снижается на 4 градуса. Это очень много.
And it makes all those years of hard work worth it. It also gives the Zimov family other ideas. They now dream of reintroducing an animal that has been extinct for thousands of years.
Почему мамонт? Потому что мамонт самый большой и агрессивный травоядный. При мамонтах пастбищные экосистемы безусловно, наиболее успешные и наиболее быстро захватывают новые территории. Но при мамонтах экосистема будет, безусловно, более агрессивна, более успешна.
This isn't science fiction. In the United States, a Harvard Medical School professor claims that in 4 to 6 years, thanks to acquired DNA of the prehistoric animal, they will birth a baby mammoth. An experiment that divides the scientific community. But for some, resurrecting extinct animals is the next step in rewilding. In the Netherlands, it's already a reality. Scientists are resurrecting the Auroch, an ancestor of our current cows, extinct for over 3 centuries. An animal that we eradicated ourselves. At Wageningen University, this is geneticist Richard Kroijmans' field of work.
This is a jaw from an auroch from around 20,000 years old. So what we can do is we want to extract DNA from this.
According to him, the Auroch, much more robust than our current cows, can survive alone in nature without human help and contribute to the balance of certain ecosystems.
What we see here is that we have ancient auroch DNA loaded on gel to visualize it. So in principle you can say that the Auroch is, although it's extinct, it's not really extinct because it's still living in different breeds which are currently now there available.
In his laboratory, Professor Kroijmans looks for cows and bulls that have the most common DNA with aurochs. Then, by natural reproduction, these animals will give birth to calves with a genetic heritage as close as possible to the extinct bovine.
We're building up an animal in time which is getting more closer to the Auroch material what we have.
They are already in the 5th generation. The new aurochs have 40% of the DNA of their prehistoric ancestors. This is a genetic path that is the opposite of the one taken to create the dairy cow. At the origin of this project is this man, biologist Ronald Godory.
These are my protégés, yes. What we're actually seeing here is a herd of Taurus, as we call it. They already look very much like the original Auroch. It's kind of a life work, so I'm proud of it.
He has already sent dozens of these modern aurochs to Croatia and Portugal to other rewilding projects. For Ronald, they have a real impact, including on humans.
All good things are wild and free, maybe. Eh? Maybe the animals rediscovering their wildness could serve as kind of a mirror to us, saying, hey, what are we doing in our offices, in our streets, in our cities? And maybe it gives us also the idea, hey, where's our wildness gone? And then it's good to be able to look at those animals and maybe also rediscover a bit of the wildness that's still inside ourselves. We don't know yet.
We humans are the only animals aware of the diversity and rich nature of our world, of all the species that inhabit it. We have the choice to preserve or destroy it, an important responsibility. Let us live up to our greatest challenge. Let us save the planet and all its inhabitants.